is important.
You're all correct. ISS does host the IT ISAC, and so obviously we've leaned in there. I think subjectively the most successful ISACs have probably been the FS ISAC, Financial Services, Telecom ISAC, and the IT ISAC, probably in that order. I think we saw Financial Services set a very good example, and one of the things I've found in my career is actually studying financial services is a good model, because these guys have a lot to lose, and they're now in a situation where, you know, a financial institution can go out of business. We just saw it happen in France. A financial services institution can go out of business or almost go out of business overnight, and these folks have done a very effective job sharing across their silos, and I think we can learn a lot by emulating the model they've created. I think the IT industry, especially around the security vendors, has developed very effective sharing programs, and actually it's interesting. It has its foundations a lot in how the antivirus industry worked, which is a distributed model, but recognizing the need to share samples, and that whenever someone captures a new sample, it's shared quickly and effectively across, and we can learn a lot from there. I think some of the initiatives, a new initiative coming up called ICASI looks very promising to enable and facilitate sharing vulnerability data across vendors. But, you know, I would go back to, I think the most successful program I've seen is in financial services, and we should look to emulate their model, because their health and vitality depends on their security, and they've done a very effective job sharing across their stacks.
Very good. We have a question from the webcast from Barbara Bellon from Bellon Research and Practice, and the question is, in the small business sector, there is very little appreciation of or understanding of information security, unless it is a checklist item on an audit. Any comments from the panel on how to educate this very vulnerable strata on a national basis?
I'll respond first on this, because it's something we're dealing with very closely, and there is a new checklist that they will have to adhere to. It's called PCI, and so any small business that actually takes a credit card has got to become very security aware or consume that security awareness as a service. And while the current PCI standards are pretty deep, the next generation of PCI standards coming down the pike actually deal with these web application vulnerabilities we're dealing with. So now all of a sudden my bakery that I go to, who takes my credit card, is going to have to make sure their website is secure if they decide to hold my data. So I think PCI will be a huge driver for small and medium business to become into compliance and consume security services, or else they'll have to stop using credit cards as payment.
So it's sort of legislated sort of approach, right?
Well, PCI is actually not a law. It's a standard put together by Visa, American Express, and MasterCard, and the simple enforcement is if you're not in compliance, you can't accept their payment, and so they're really changing the shape of the small business and how they secure themselves.
Oh, okay, interesting. In the corner.
Yes, I'm Jerry Gibbon. I'm with J&BG Consultants. We're also a partner with the IEEE, also with Microsoft, and with Cisco. And one of the things that the partnership shares is an interesting document that they send down over the internet to all the partners about vulnerabilities in software that's deployed in the servers that are in, as you know, Cisco servers are about 85 to 90% of those in existence in the, maybe not just in the United States, but maybe overseas as well. But these security areas that they speak to are areas that have been exploited. In other words, they monitor their customers' explorations to see indeed what's going on out there. So they're constantly getting feedback from their partners, and in turn developing software corrections and updates. And I'm kind of interesting because these softwares and updates are coming down daily. They're actually published on their newsletter. They're sent out to all the members, and so. And if folks who have, Server 2000, NT 2000, or 2003, you've probably seen a load of them. But the good news is that the Server 2007 and 2008 that's just been in beta include all the software for these corrections. In fact, massive degrees of security have been included. Network managers are now embracing this as a notch up, if you will, in the operating systems. And they're welcoming, through the XP enhancements as well as the Vista enhancements to include security measures that have never been included before. And I'm just wondering whether folks are sensitive to that. Maybe we just see it from a partner's point of view, but maybe you can ask the panel if some of those things are being reacted to in those silos areas.
Well, I can speak specific to Lockheed. Two of the players regarding strategic relationships and awareness of their tools, in fact, include Cisco and Microsoft. So that is an important subject to them, and they are clearly being proactive in that area. If you were to cycle back to my comment on the Federal Desktop Configuration Core Initiative, I believe it's about 250 specific settings within each of those operating systems in order to adhere to the FDCC mandate. Many of those are driven by findings associated with what you're saying today. So it's tied in, we are aware, and I think broader exposure than information outside of partnership, I think, would be prudent.
I think you brought up some good points on some of the patch challenges we see today. The flip side of that coin is not just the number of patches we have to deal with. And I mentioned that we track about 7,000 to 8,000 vulnerabilities a year. Each one of those certainly has a unique patch. The flip side of that coin, the other updates that the servers and desktops have to consume is a number of antivirus updates. And this is a model we've seen completely gamed by our adversary. We track these new types of attacks called serial variance attacks, and what we're seeing are closely related pre-generated viruses released in batches. We saw one day in 2006 or 2007, excuse me, we saw 55 variants of the storm worm released in a single day. These were all created ahead of time, and every time an AV vendor put out a signature, the adversaries would put out a new version. And so not only do we have such a large number of patches to be healthy on the network, we've got such a large number of inoculations we've got to consume. The tax is tremendous. And kind of the last area, one of the challenges in patching, and I do believe Microsoft certainly is raising the bar. They've lowered the attack surface profile of the operating system. But one of the new challenges we're facing is virtual machines. So imagine your Windows 2003 server that's a virtual machine and has been at rest for 3 months. How many patches does he need before he spins back up to be secure? Is the amount of time it's going to take to get those patches, if he's on an open network, will he become compromised before he can actually install them? Odds are pretty good that he will. And so virtualization and the trend towards virtualization introduces entirely new classes of attacks, issues, and huge challenges in patch management.
What I'm hearing is we're really going to have to step up what we're doing for an educated workforce to work and handle this and stay current on it. Other questions or comments?